Danielle Danny Harper woke up on her birthday with a soft smile because this year felt like it might finally be different. Not perfect, just different. She had a steady career, a peaceful little apartment in Atlanta that she worked hard for, and a boyfriend she'd been patient with longer than she should have been. She sat up in bed, stretched, and glanced at her phone, already expecting to see a message waiting for her. Nothing. Danny told herself not to overthink it. Maybe Ethan was planning something sweet. Maybe he wanted it to be a surprise. She slid out of bed and went to the mirror, adjusting her hair and smoothing the front like she was trying to smooth her own nerves too. She whispered a quick prayer under her breath, the kind she'd learned to say when her heart felt like it was leaning too hard on something that might not hold. God, let today be peaceful. Let me feel loved. Her phone buzzed, her shoulders lifted with hope until she saw it was her mother. "Happy birthday, baby," Loretta Harper said, warm but direct, like always. "You coming by later? Your aunties want to see you." Danny smiled. "I can stop by." "Good," Loretta replied. "And Danielle, you know I love you, but I'm not going to stop praying you meet the right man. You're not getting younger. I just want you settled." There it was, the same pressure in a prettier package. Danny's smile tightened. "Ma, can we not do that today? Just let it be my birthday." Loretta sighed like she didn't understand why Danny always took it so personally. "I'm only saying it because I care." After she hung up, Danny sat on the edge of the bed a moment longer than she meant to. She told herself, "Don't let it start like this. Not today." She opened her messages again and typed, "Good morning, babe. It's my birthday." She added a little heart, stared at it for a second, then hit send. Minutes passed, then more minutes. Still nothing. Kiara Bennett called next, Danny's best friend, the kind of friend who didn't just hype you up, but also told you the truth when you were being too soft. "Birthday girl," Kiara shouted through the phone. "Tell me you're doing something cute." Danny tried to sound light. "I planned a dinner. Ethan's supposed to come." Kiara went quiet for half a second, then said carefully, "Has he said anything?" Danny looked at her phone again like maybe it would change its mind. "Not yet." Kiara hummed, and Danny could hear the concern behind it. "Okay, listen, you're not gonna beg a grown man to celebrate you. Today is your day, either way, and I'm praying with you, all right?" Kiara said a quick prayer, not long, not dramatic, just powerful. When she finished, she added, "Call me if you feel even a little embarrassed. I'm not letting you sit in that feeling alone." Danny promised she would, but deep down she still believed Ethan would show up. She wanted to believe it, because believing was easier than admitting what she already knew. That evening, Danny dressed carefully. Not for attention, she wasn't that kind of woman, but because she wanted to feel confident. She wore a simple, elegant dress, soft makeup, and a calm smile she practiced in the mirror. She took one more look at her phone before leaving. Still nothing. At the restaurant, the hostess smiled. "Reservation?" "Harper," Danny said. The hostess checked the list and nodded. "Right this way." The table was beautiful, a candle, 2 place settings. Danny's stomach fluttered. She sat down slowly, crossing her legs and placing her phone on the table like it was part of the dinner. She glanced around, pretending she wasn't waiting, pretending this was normal. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Danny checked her phone and typed, "Hey, are you on your way?" No response. A waiter came with water and asked, "Are we waiting on the other guest before I take your order?" Danny's throat tightened. "Yes," she said quickly. "He'll be here." The waiter smiled politely, but Danny felt the heat crawling up her neck anyway. She stared at the candle like it could distract her from the growing ache in her chest. 30 minutes. 40. She called Ethan once. It rang and went to voicemail. She didn't leave a message. She didn't want to sound desperate. She didn't want to sound like a woman who was trying to convince a man to care. At the hour mark, Danny finally opened social media, just to distract herself, and the screen punched her right in the heart. Ethan had posted a casual story, music, laughter, a dim room, people cheering like it was any other night. No mention of her, no apology, no explanation. Danny stared at it so long her eyes started burning. She didn't cry at the table, not yet. She swallowed the pain and signaled the waiter. "Can I order?" she asked, voice steady, even though her insides weren't. She ate slowly, barely tasting anything, nodding politely when the staff wished her happy birthday. When it was time to pay, she did it without hesitation. Pride can be painful, but it can also be the only thing keeping you upright. Outside in her car, the moment the door shut, the tears came. Not loud, not dramatic, just the kind that feel like your spirit is tired. She gripped the steering wheel and whispered, "Why do I keep doing this to myself?" Her phone lit up again. For a second, her heart betrayed her. Hope rose, but it wasn't Ethan. It was Kiara. "Checking on you. Don't lie to me." Danny stared at the message, breathing hard, then typed back, "He didn't come." And as she drove home alone through the city lights, Danny made a quiet decision that felt like the start of something new and painful and necessary. She was done begging to be chosen. A week after her birthday humiliation, Danny told herself she was fine, not healed, just functioning. She went back to work, smiled at the right moments, and kept her voice steady when people asked how her birthday went. But at night, when the apartment got quiet, her thoughts got loud. The memory of sitting alone at that candlelit table replayed like a scene she couldn't skip. Kiara noticed, of course. Kiara always noticed. "You've been moving like your spirit is tired," Kiara said over the phone. "And before you say you're okay, don't. I already know." Danny let out a slow breath. "I'm just embarrassed." "Embarrassed for who?" Kiara snapped back. "Because it shouldn't be you. Ethan embarrassed himself, and you're not about to punish your own heart because he's childish." Danny didn't argue. There was no energy left for defending a man who couldn't even defend her. That was how Danny ended up agreeing to a date with Miles Grant, a man Kiara described as fresh air. Danny wasn't looking for love that night. She just wanted proof that the world didn't end because one man didn't show up. She wanted to sit across from someone new and feel normal again. Miles picked a trendy spot in Midtown Atlanta. Bright lights, loud conversations, expensive plates. Danny arrived 5 minutes early and chose a seat with clear visibility of the entrance. She liked knowing what was happening around her. After what she'd been through, she refused to feel cornered anywhere. Miles walked in 10 minutes late, smiling like punctuality was optional when you looked like him. He had a crisp jacket, shiny watch, and the kind of confidence that didn't ask permission. "Danielle," he said, drawing her name out like he was testing it. "You look nice." "Thanks," Danny replied calmly. Miles sat down and immediately started talking about himself, his business ideas, his expensive tastes, his opinions about modern women, and how most of them don't know how to be wives anymore. Danny sipped water, letting him speak, hoping he'd circle back to basic courtesy. He didn't. When the waiter came, Miles ordered without asking Danny what she wanted. He chose a shared appetizer like he had already decided they were the kind of couple who shared plates. Danny felt her stomach tighten, but she kept her expression neutral. Then Miles leaned forward and said, "So, why are you single at your age?" Danny blinked once. "I'm not sure that's your business." He laughed. "I'm just saying, a woman like you, there's usually a reason. You don't give off easy. That scares men." Danny stared at him. The words weren't loud, but they were sharp enough to sting. She placed her napkin down carefully. "I'm going to step to the restroom." Miles lifted his brows. "Already? We just started." Danny stood. "I'll be right back." She walked away quickly, heart beating fast, not from fear, but from irritation. She wasn't about to sit there and be disrespected in a different outfit. In the hallway near the restrooms, she paused and pulled out her phone, typing a message to Kiara. "This is bad. He's rude. I'm leaving." Before she could hit send, Miles's voice echoed behind her. "Danny, come on now, don't be dramatic." Her jaw tightened. Why was he following her? "Go back to the table," she said, keeping her tone controlled. Miles smirked. "Women always act like they want a gentleman, but they really want someone who checks them. I'm just being real with you." Danny's stomach dropped. This wasn't just a bad date. This was a man who enjoyed discomfort, who mistook disrespect for confidence. She turned slightly, scanning the space, calculating her exit, and that was when she saw him, Adrian King. He stood near the bar, tall and composed, dressed simply but sharply, like a man who didn't need to perform success because he actually had it. Danny's breath caught. She hadn't seen Adrian since college, and back then he'd been quiet, serious, always watching everything like he was measuring the room before he moved. Adrian's eyes landed on her, and his expression shifted instantly. Not shock, recognition, then concern. He walked toward her without hesitation. "Danny Harper," he said, voice calm but firm. "You okay?" Miles scoffed. "Who's this?" Adrian didn't even look at Miles right away. His focus stayed on Danny like she was the only important thing in the room. "Is this man bothering you?" Danny swallowed. Pride wanted to say no. Survival wanted to say the truth. "Yes," she admitted quietly. Adrian's gaze finally moved to Miles, and the temperature in the air changed. Not threatening, just unmistakably serious. "She said she's leaving," Adrian stated. "So she's leaving." Miles laughed like it was a joke. "Man, we're on a date." Adrian stepped slightly closer, not invading, just protecting. "And the date is over." Miles rolled his eyes. "Whatever, she's too sensitive anyway." Danny's hands trembled, but Adrian's presence steadied the moment. He turned back to her. "You don't owe anyone politeness at the cost of your peace," he said. Danny nodded once. Adrian walked with her back toward the entrance. Miles muttered something under his breath, but he didn't follow again. The second Danny stepped outside into the night air, she felt her lungs finally take a full breath. She looked up at Adrian, still trying to process how quickly the situation flipped from uncomfortable to safe. "Thank you," she said, voice low. Adrian studied her for a moment like he was making sure she was truly okay. Then he gave a small, knowing smile. "You always did have a way of ending up around chaos," he said, "but you don't have to handle it alone." Danny hugged her purse tighter, heart still racing, not from Miles anymore, but from the strange feeling that this wasn't random. This felt like a turning point, and as Adrian held the door for her to leave, Danny realized something that hit deeper than embarrassment or anger. Maybe God wasn't punishing her with bad men. Maybe God was showing her what she should never accept again, right before introducing what she actually deserved. The following Monday morning, Danny walked into Sterling Heights Medical Center, determined to reset her life. The Miles disaster was over. Ethan was officially a closed chapter in her mind. And Adrian King, well, Adrian was just a strange moment of kindness from someone she barely knew anymore. That's what she told herself, anyway. Still, she couldn't forget how quickly he stepped in without making her feel small. No drama, no guilt, no, "What did you do to cause it?" Just protection, calm, and a simple question. "Are you okay?" Danny tried to tuck that memory away as she rode the elevator to her floor. Work was where she felt in control. Work was where her value didn't depend on whether a man remembered her birthday. But the second the elevator doors opened, the energy felt different. People were gathered in small clusters, talking in urgent whispers. Clipboards were in hands. Laptops were open. Even the usual joking at the nurses' station was gone. Jalen Brooks, one of the most reliable coordinators on Danny's team, spotted her and hurried over. "Danny," he said, eyes wide. "You heard?" "Heard what?" Danny asked, already uneasy. "They brought in a new executive director. Big deal. The board is here. Everybody's acting like the building is about to get inspected by heaven." Danny let out a quiet laugh, but her stomach tightened. For what? For Future Forward, Jalen said. That new program, the one they said could change the hospital's whole rating. Supposedly the last person couldn't handle it, so they replaced him. Danny's mind jumped. Future Forward was the kind of project that made careers. It was also the kind of project that crushed people when it went wrong. It meant outcomes, numbers, pressure, and reputation, all on the line. A staff-wide meeting got called immediately. Danny followed the flow of people toward the conference room, trying to keep her face neutral. She could already sense Tasha Monroe on the other side of this, because Tasha loved two things more than anything: recognition and control. Inside the conference room, the atmosphere was stiff. Leadership sat in the front row. Department heads leaned forward like students waiting for grades. Danny took a seat beside Jalen, her notebook open, pen ready. Then the doors opened, and Danny's pen froze mid-air. Adrian King walked in like he owned the room. Not loud, not arrogant, just steady. His posture was straight, his expression serious, his steps measured like he'd already decided what success looked like and wasn't interested in excuses. He greeted the board, shook hands with the senior leaders, then turned toward the room. His eyes scanned the crowd and landed directly on Danny. For half a second, something passed between them: recognition, surprise, and a faint hint of that same calm confidence from the restaurant. Then his face settled back into professionalism. Danny's heart thumped so hard she felt it in her throat. No, that can't be. A board member stood. Everyone, we'd like to introduce our new Executive Director of Patient Systems and Quality Improvement. Please welcome Mr. Adrian King. Applause filled the room. Danny didn't clap right away. She felt like her body was still catching up to what her mind already understood. Jalen leaned close and whispered, "You okay? You look like you just saw a ghost." Danny forced her hands to move. "I'm fine," she lied. Adrian took the floor and began speaking with clarity and authority. He didn't waste time with motivational fluff. He spoke about patient outcomes, safety systems, team accountability, and measurable improvement. He laid out the stakes like a man who respected people enough to tell them the truth. Then he said, "Future Forward will not be successful if we keep operating like excellence is optional. This is going to require leaders, not just workers." Danny felt her palms get warm. Adrian's gaze moved again, and this time it felt intentional. "Danielle Harper," he said. The room quieted instantly, the way rooms do when a name gets singled out in a meeting. Danny's spine straightened. "Yes?" "I reviewed your work," Adrian continued. "Your performance evaluations, your project tracking, your outcomes coordination. You're going to lead the operational side of Future Forward." A few people murmured. Danny caught Tasha's sharp inhale from across the room before she even looked. Danny blinked. "Me?" "Yes," Adrian said, tone firm. "You'll coordinate departmental compliance, monitor outcome metrics, and manage the timeline. You'll have support, but the responsibility is yours." Tasha raised a hand immediately, smile tight like a stretched rubber band. "Interesting choice," she said. "That's a heavy assignment." Adrian didn't flinch. "That's why I didn't assign it to someone who avoids heavy work." A ripple moved through the room, tiny reactions, quickly buried. Danny's cheeks warmed, but she kept her face composed. "Understood," she said, voice steady. "I won't disappoint." The meeting ended with people buzzing, already predicting who would succeed and who would crash. As Danny stood to leave, she heard a whisper behind her, soft but sharp. "Must be nice," someone said. Danny turned slightly and saw Tasha watching her with polished hostility. "Congratulations," Tasha added, but her eyes didn't match the word. Danny knew that look. That wasn't competition, that was intent. Outside the conference room, Jalen nudged her gently. "Whatever that was," he murmured, I've got your back. Danny exhaled slowly. She wanted to call Kiara, to hear her voice, and ground herself. But before she could move, Adrian's assistant approached. Ms. Harper, she said, Mr. King would like to see you in his office, now. Danny's chest tightened again as she walked down the hallway. Because one thing was clear now. That rescue at the restaurant wasn't the end of Adrian King in her life. It was the beginning. The next morning, Danny walked into Sterling Heights Medical Center earlier than usual, coffee in one hand and a notebook in the other. She didn't sleep much. Her mind kept replaying Adrian calling her name in that meeting, the way the room shifted, the way Tasha's smile looked like it was hiding teeth. Danny wasn't naive. She knew what it meant to be chosen in front of people who wanted the same seat. It meant pressure. It meant eyes on her. It meant mistakes would be louder. She paused at her desk, whispered a quick prayer, and got to work. Future Forward wasn't just a program, it was a mountain. The hospital wanted improved patient satisfaction, faster response times, better safety metrics, fewer errors, tighter coordination across departments, everything at once. Danny's role was the operational backbone, tracking timelines, organizing teams, holding departments accountable, and making sure the entire plan didn't collapse under real-life chaos. By 8:15 a.m., she had her first meeting scheduled. Department reps filed into the conference room, looking skeptical, tired, and guarded. People who had seen new initiatives come and go. Danny didn't try to impress them with big words. She opened with clarity. We're not here to chase perfection, she said calmly. We're here to improve what we can measure, fix what we can control, and communicate better when things get hard. A few heads lifted. Jalen sat beside her, ready to back her up, and Danny felt thankful for at least one ally who didn't need convincing. After the meeting, Danny moved fast, emailing department heads, confirming timelines, and creating a tracking system so simple it would be hard for anyone to pretend they didn't know. Before lunch, she discovered the first major gap. The hospital's follow-up process after discharge was inconsistent, and the data reporting didn't match what leadership thought was happening. That meant the hospital had been missing a key reason patients were dissatisfied. Danny didn't panic. She built a solution. By mid-afternoon, she presented a streamlined follow-up plan, including clear accountability points. Adrian reviewed it in his office, expression unreadable as he scanned her work. This is solid, he said finally. Danny held her breath without meaning to. Adrian looked up. But if you're going to lead this, you need to understand something. People don't attack weak leaders. They attack rising leaders. Danny's throat tightened. You mean Tasha? Adrian didn't say her name, but he didn't deny it either. Stay focused, keep everything documented, and don't let anyone provoke you into acting out of character. Danny nodded. I can handle it. As Danny left his office, she nearly walked straight into Tasha in the hallway. Tasha's heels clicked like punctuation, her hair perfectly styled, her smile polished. Danielle, Tasha said sweetly. Busy, must be nice to have special attention. Danny kept her face calm. I'm just doing my job. Tasha tilted her head. Of course you are. I'm sure you earned it. The words were polite. The meaning wasn't. Danny walked away, but she felt it. War had been declared quietly. 2 days later, the first test hit. A major partner meeting was scheduled with a community healthcare network the hospital needed for Future Forward's success. If Danny secured them, the program would gain credibility overnight. If she failed, leadership would start questioning Adrian's choice immediately. The morning of the meeting, Danny opened the shared folder to review the presentation materials. The file was gone. Not missing like misplaced. Gone like deleted. Danny's heart jumped, but she forced her mind to stay steady. She immediately checked the folder history and saw it. Someone had removed the document after hours. The name on the log wasn't clear, but the action was. Sabotage. Jalen stepped behind her, eyes narrowing. That's crazy. Danny inhaled slowly. No, that's strategic. She didn't run to complain. She didn't storm into anyone's office. She did what she had always done. She rebuilt. Within 2 hours, Danny recreated the entire presentation from scratch, added clearer data visuals, and simplified the message so the partner network could understand the impact immediately. She even included a short section on how the partnership would support underserved families, because Danny never forgot the human side of the numbers. When the partner representatives arrived, Danny stood tall, smile steady, and delivered the presentation like she had been preparing for this moment her whole life. She answered questions with confidence, admitted what needed improvement without sounding weak, and explained how Future Forward would actually change lives. By the end, the lead representative nodded. "We'll move forward," he said. "We want to partner." Danny kept her face composed until the meeting ended. Then she exhaled, the kind of breath you release after surviving something meant to break you. Later that evening, Adrian called Danny back to his office. He held up a printed copy of the folder history log. "You noticed," he said. Danny didn't play dumb. "Yes." Adrian's jaw tightened. "And you still won." Danny met his gaze. "Because I didn't come here to fight for attention. I came here to do the work." For the first time, Adrian's expression softened, not into romance, but into respect. "Good," he said quietly, "because this was only the first attempt." Danny's stomach sank slightly. "Meaning?" Adrian leaned back, eyes serious. "Meaning when someone decides you're a threat, they don't stop after one failure." Danny left his office that night with 2 truths sitting heavy in her chest. She had proven she belonged, and she had officially made an enemy who wouldn't rest until she fell. 3 days after Danny secured the partnership, the hospital felt like it was running on caffeine and tension. Future Forward was gaining momentum, which meant more meetings, more scrutiny, and more people looking for reasons to complain. Danny stayed focused, but she could feel Tasha's presence like a shadow. Never loud, always nearby, always waiting for her to slip. That Thursday afternoon, Danny was leaving a planning meeting when she heard raised voices coming from the executive hallway. It wasn't screaming, but it was sharp enough to turn heads. Danny slowed without meaning to, because the voice she recognized sounded smaller, a child. She rounded the corner and saw Adrian near the entrance of his office, jaw tight, one hand pressed to his forehead, like he was holding back a headache. Across from him stood a little girl with a backpack hanging off one shoulder. Her hair was neatly styled, but her face was tense, eyes glossy like she refused to let the tears fall. "I'm not going in there," the girl snapped. Adrian exhaled slowly. "Ari, please, I'm in the middle of work." "I don't care," Ari shot back. "You always say that. You're always in the middle of work." The air went quiet. A few staff members glanced away, pretending they hadn't seen. Danny's heart tugged. She didn't know the full story, but she recognized that tone. That wasn't a spoiled kid tone. That was a hurt tone. Adrian noticed Danny and stiffened slightly. "Ms. Harper," he greeted, voice instantly professional, like the last 10 seconds hadn't happened. Danny gave a small nod. "Mr. King." Ari turned and looked at Danny like she was trying to decide if Danny was safe or not. Danny didn't rush her. She just softened her expression and said gently, "Hey." Ari didn't respond. She clutched the strap of her backpack tighter. Adrian lowered his voice. "Her school called. There was an incident and I had to pick her up. My sitter cancelled. I don't have options right now." His sentence trailed off like he didn't like admitting he was struggling. Ari crossed her arms. "I'm not staying here. This place is boring, and everyone stares." Danny noticed the way Ari's eyes flicked around the hallway. She was right. People were staring, not rudely, but enough for a kid to feel exposed. Danny took a breath and made a quick decision. Would it help if she sat somewhere more private, Maybe the staff lounge area near the atrium. It's quieter, there's seating, and the vending machines if she wants a snack. Adrian looked relieved, but still tense. Ari, can you do that for me? Ari rolled her eyes. Whatever. Danny walked with Ari down the hallway, not too close, not too far, giving her space while making sure she wasn't alone. Ari stayed silent at first, but once they reached the atrium area, she sat on a bench and finally let out a long, frustrated sigh, like she had been holding it all day. Danny sat a respectful distance away. You don't have to tell me anything, she said softly, but if you want to, I can listen. Ari glanced at her sideways. You work here? Yes. With my dad? Yes, Danny answered. He's serious, huh? Ari's face twisted, like she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He's always serious. Even when he says he's not mad, his face still looks mad. Danny understood that too well. Sometimes grown-ups carry stress in their faces, she said. It doesn't always mean they're mad at you. Ari picked at her backpack zipper. He missed my award thing last month. He said he had a meeting. Danny didn't make excuses for Adrian, but she also didn't attack him. Word. A few minutes later, Adrian appeared, walking faster than usual. He looked at Ari, then at Danny. Thank you, he said quietly. Ari stood up, still guarded but calmer. Can we go home now? She asked. Adrian nodded. Yes, we can. As they started to leave, Ari hesitated and looked back at Danny. Bye, she said, almost like the word surprised her. Danny smiled. Bye, Ari. Adrian paused at the doorway, his voice lowered. You didn't have to do that. Danny shrugged lightly. She needed someone to speak softly. Adrian held Danny's gaze for a moment longer than necessary, like he was realizing something he hadn't planned for. Not just about Danny, about what his daughter had been needing. And as Danny watched them walk away, she felt it, clear as day. Ari wasn't just a side detail in Adrian's life. Ari was the heart of it. And somehow, Danny had just stepped into the middle of something deeper than work. The next morning after meeting Ari, Danny tried to act like nothing had changed. She told herself it was just a moment, just a kid needing kindness and a father needing help. But the truth was, she couldn't shake the look in Ari's eyes when she admitted she felt small, and she couldn't forget the quiet gratitude in Adrian's voice when he said, "Thank you," like it cost him pride to say it. Danny kept moving anyway. That was her strength. She didn't pause for feelings. She organized them, boxed them, and handled them later. Future Forward was demanding more from everyone, and Danny's calendar looked like a battlefield. Meetings, follow-ups, audits, and progress checks stacked so tight she barely had time to breathe. She stayed disciplined, documented everything, and kept her tone professional even when people tried to pull her into politics. But politics came looking for her anyway. At lunch, Danny walked into the staff cafe and immediately felt the shift. Conversations lowered, eyes flicked away. Someone whispered, then laughed like it was harmless. Jalen slid into the seat across from her with his tray and leaned in. Don't react, he murmured. Danny didn't blink. React to what? Jalen's jaw tightened. The rumor. Danny's stomach dropped him, but her face stayed calm. What rumor? He hesitated, like he hated repeating it. That you're getting special treatment. That the only reason you got this role is because Adrian likes you. Danny held her fork in the air for a second, then set it down gently. She didn't want her hands to shake in public. She forced her voice to stay even. Who started it? Jalen didn't have to say the name. Danny already knew. Tasha. Danny looked across the cafe and saw Tasha at a table with 2 other staff members, smiling like she was passing out blessings, not poison. The moment Tasha noticed Danny looking, she lifted her cup slightly in a fake toast. Danny inhaled slowly. She could feel anger rising, hot and fast, but she swallowed it. She wouldn't give Tasha what she wanted, an emotional reaction she could twist into another story. Instead, Danny stood up, grabbed her things, and walked out with quiet dignity. She went straight to her office, closed the door, and prayed under her breath, the kind of prayer that wasn't pretty. God, don't let me lose myself trying to defend myself. Then she got back to work. By late afternoon, the hospital hosted a mini review session with leadership to check early results. Danny presented the updated tracking system, the partnership timeline, and the new discharge follow-up process. Numbers were improving, the strategy was working, people nodded and took notes, a few even complimented her in ways that felt sincere. And still, Danny felt Tasha watching her like she was waiting for applause to turn into suspicion. After the meeting, Danny went to print a set of documents for Adrian's office. When she reached the printer, she saw a sticky note on top of her papers. Must be nice to have the boss. Danny stared at it for 3 long seconds. Her first instinct was to crumple it. Her second was to cry. Her third was worse. Go find Tasha and say everything she'd been holding back. Instead, Danny folded the note, placed it in her pocket, and walked away. But the pressure didn't stop there. Before the end of the day, a department supervisor emailed Danny accusing her of changing procedures without approval. Danny immediately checked the chain and realized someone had forwarded incomplete information to make it look like she was acting alone. Danny traced it back and found the source of the confusion: Tasha's team. Danny didn't explode. She didn't insult anyone. She responded with facts, attached the full documentation, and included leadership in the thread. Within minutes, the supervisor apologized. Danny leaned back in her chair and exhaled, eyes closing for a moment. It was exhausting having to be perfect just to be believed. Her phone buzzed, a message from Kiara. "How's your spirit today?" Danny typed back, "Tired. People are whispering. But I'm not breaking." Kiara replied fast, "Good. Keep your boundaries. Keep your receipts. And remember, character is loud in silence." That evening, Danny was packing up to leave when Adrian's assistant stopped her. "Mr. King asked if you could come by." Danny's heart beat once harder than necessary. She hated that. She walked to Adrian's office, knocked, and stepped in. Adrian looked up from his desk. His expression was unreadable, but his voice was controlled. "Close the door." Danny did, keeping her posture calm. "What's wrong?" Adrian pushed a printed paper across the desk, an anonymous complaint claiming Danny was unprofessional and too personally involved with the executive team. Danny stared at it, shock flashing across her face before she caught it. "You know that's not true." "I do," Adrian said firmly, "but complaints like this can grow teeth if we don't handle them correctly." Danny's chest tightened. "So what are you saying?" Adrian held her gaze. "I'm saying we protect you, and this program, by staying clean. Completely clean." Danny nodded slowly, swallowing the sting. "I've been clean." "I know," Adrian said, voice quieter. "But perception matters." Danny's hands clenched at her sides. "So I'm being punished because other people are messy?" Adrian stood up, walking around the desk, not too close, just enough for Danny to feel the seriousness of him. "You're not being punished. You're being targeted, and I won't let it destroy you." Danny's throat burned. "Then stop them." Adrian's jaw flexed. "I can't control what jealous people say, but I can control what we give them." Danny stared at him, the frustration finally spilling out. "I'm tired of always having to be stronger than everyone else's lies." Adrian's expression softened for the first time that day. "I know," he said quietly. "That's why I called you in, not to accuse you, but to tell you I see what's happening." Danny blinked fast, fighting tears. "Seeing it isn't enough." Adrian nodded, serious again. "Then we do something about it. Starting now, you document every interaction, you forward anything suspicious, and you don't walk into any meeting alone if you can help it. Jalen can be your witness." Danny exhaled. "Okay." Adrian hesitated, then added, "And Danny, with my daughter. Thank you." The way he said her name wasn't romantic. It was careful, like he didn't want to say the wrong thing and ruin the boundaries they were trying to protect. Danny nodded once. Ari needed kindness, that's all. Adrian looked at her for a long moment. No, he said. She needed someone who wouldn't treat her like an inconvenience. That hit Danny deeper than she expected, because it wasn't just about Ari, it was about Adrian admitting something he'd never said out loud. Danny turned to leave, but before she reached the door, Adrian spoke again, lower, almost like he didn't want the words to exist in the air too long. Be careful, he said. Tasha isn't finished. Danny opened the door, shoulders squared, voice steady. Neither am I. The following weekend, Danny tried to rest, but her mind wouldn't let her. Even in her quiet apartment, the hospital followed her. Emails she didn't open, meetings she hadn't prepared for yet, and the constant pressure of being watched. She kept hearing Adrian's warning in her head. Tasha isn't finished, and the worst part was knowing he was right. Sunday morning, Danny went to church with Kiara like they always did when life felt heavy. The worship was warm, the message was about endurance, and for a moment, Danny felt her shoulders loosen. But when the service ended and she stepped into the parking lot, her phone buzzed with a call from her mother. Danielle, Loretta said immediately, not even starting with hello. You didn't tell me you were out here running around with some important man at your job. Danny stopped walking. What are you talking about? Loretta made a sound like she was offended that Danny didn't already know. Your Aunt Sheila called me. She said her friend works at your hospital. She said folks are talking. They said your new boss is always calling you into his office. Danny's stomach dropped. Ma, are you serious right now? I'm serious, Loretta snapped, because I'm not going to have my daughter's name dragged around town. You better be careful. These men will ruin you and move on. Kiara, standing beside Danny, watched her face tighten. She didn't interrupt, but her eyes said, breathe. Danny tried to keep her voice calm. I'm leading a major hospital program. I get called into his office because it's my job. Loretta didn't soften. Uh-huh. And you expect me to believe everybody is lying, and you're the only one telling the truth? That sentence hit like a slap. Not because it was loud, but because it was her own mother choosing rumor over her. Danny's eyes stung. Ma, I'm tired, she admitted, voice shaking despite her effort. I'm tired of people assuming the worst about me. I'm tired of having to be perfect just to be respected. Loretta sighed. Well, if you'd just get married and settle down... Stop, Danny said sharply. There was a long pause on the line. Danny's chest rose and fell fast. You keep saying marriage like it's the only thing that makes me safe. Like it's the only thing that makes me valuable. I'm your daughter. I'm valuable now. Loretta's voice lowered. I'm trying to protect you. No, Danny said, swallowing hard. You're trying to control the story people tell about me, and I'm the one living with the pressure. Loretta didn't respond for a moment. Then she said coldly, Watch your tone. Danny closed her eyes. The old her would have apologized immediately just to keep peace, but the new her, after Ethan, after Miles, after the rumors, couldn't keep shrinking. I'm not disrespecting you, Danny said firmly. I'm telling you the truth. I need support, not suspicion. Loretta ended the call soon after, still upset. Danny stood in the parking lot for a moment, phone in her hand, feeling like even her own mother didn't see her clearly. Kiara touched her arm gently. You did good, she said. Danny blinked back tears. It doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to, Kiara replied. Growth hurts, especially when you're growing past what people expect you to be. That Monday, Danny returned to work with a heavy heart. She stayed focused, but the atmosphere was shifting. The rumors had reached beyond the hospital walls. She could feel it in the way some co-workers avoided eye contact, in the way certain conversations paused when she walked by. And then, right before noon, Danny got an unexpected message. Can you meet me in the atrium? Adrian. Danny hesitated, then went. Adrian was standing near the big windows, looking out like he was thinking through something too big for an office. When he turned, his expression was serious. "It's gotten worse," he said. Danny didn't pretend. "Yes," Adrian handed her a folder. Inside were printed screenshots, anonymous messages sent to HR, implying Danny was inappropriate and ambitious in the wrong way. Danny's hands shook slightly as she flipped through them. "This is harassment," she whispered. Adrian's voice hardened. "It is, and I'm not allowing it." Danny looked up. "So what now?" Adrian held her gaze. "Now we handle it correctly. HR documentation, witnesses, no private meetings unless necessary, and if they are necessary, we keep doors open or have a third person present." Danny nodded, but her throat was tight. "I don't want to lose my career because someone hates me." "You won't," Adrian said firmly. "Not while I'm here." Danny's eyes narrowed slightly. "And what about your reputation?" Adrian didn't flinch. "I'm not protecting my ego. I'm protecting what's right." That moment surprised her, because most men she had known protected themselves first, and offered women comfort only after their own image was secure. Danny swallowed. "Thank you." Adrian's expression softened, and for a second he looked tired, like he was carrying more than work. "This is what happens," he said quietly. "When people see a woman rising, they look for a reason to explain her success that doesn't involve her talent." Danny felt something crack inside her. Not sadness, but clarity. She wasn't crazy, she wasn't overreacting, she was being targeted because she was strong. And as she stood there in the atrium with Adrian, Danny made another silent decision, one that went deeper than future forward or workplace rumors. She would no longer fight for respect by shrinking. She would fight by standing tall. 2 weeks after the rumors started, the hospital finally went quiet. But not because Tasha stopped. It went quiet because Danny and Adrian got smarter. Every meeting had witnesses. Every update had documentation. Every decision had receipts. And slowly, the whisperers began to run out of oxygen. Future Forward kept winning. Patients were rating follow-up calls higher. Response times improved. Departments that used to avoid responsibility were suddenly cooperating because Danny made it impossible to hide behind confusion. Even leadership started speaking Danny's name with respect instead of curiosity. Still, the pressure didn't disappear. It just changed shape. Now the weight wasn't only about work, it was about Adrian. Danny noticed how often he checked in, not in a personal way, but in a way that felt like concern. She noticed how he kept his distance in public, yet his eyes always found her in a room. She noticed the way he spoke about excellence like it was a promise, not a demand. And she noticed something else, too. He was trying, with Ari. Adrian started leaving work on time some days. He mentioned school events in passing. He asked Danny simple questions about how to speak to a child without sounding like a corporate email. Danny didn't tease him. She just answered honestly. She could tell he was learning in real time, and learning wasn't easy for a man who liked control. Then one Thursday evening, after a long day of meetings, Adrian stopped at Danny as she was packing up her bag. "Ms. Harper," he said, but his tone wasn't formal this time. "Danielle." Danny paused. "Yes?" Adrian's expression was careful, like he was choosing words with intention. "I want to take you out, not as your boss, not connected to work." Danny blinked once. Her heart jumped, but she held her face steady. "Adrian." "I know," he said quickly, as if he could already hear her objections. "That's why I'm saying it like this. If you say no, I'll respect it. If you say yes, it's off the clock, off the record, and we do it the right way." Danny's first instinct was to protect herself. Work had already been turned into a battlefield. She didn't want her personal life dragged into it too. She also didn't want to repeat patterns, confusing attention, hoping it would become commitment. So she set the boundary before she set the answer. If I say yes, Danny said, voice calm, I need you to understand something. I don't do secret situations. I don't do mixed signals, and I'm not risking my integrity for anybody. Adrian nodded immediately. Agreed. And another thing, Danny added. We keep this respectful, no emotional games, no pressure. Adrian's eyes held hers. That's exactly what I want. Danny took a breath. Okay, she said softly. One date. Adrian didn't smile wide or act like he won a prize. He simply looked relieved. Tomorrow night, he said. I'll text you the details. When Danny told Kiara later, Kiara stared at her like she was watching a movie. Adrian King? Kiara repeated. The same man who rescued you from Miles? Danny rolled her eyes. Don't start. Kiara grabbed her hands. I'm not starting. I'm warning you, in a loving way. If you like him, be honest with yourself, but keep your standards. Don't let chemistry rewrite your boundaries. Danny nodded. I know. The next night, Danny met Adrian at a quiet restaurant with warm lighting and soft music, private enough to talk, public enough to feel safe. Adrian stood when she arrived, pulling out her chair like a gentleman. No overdoing it, no performance, just respect. They talked slowly at first. He asked about her childhood, her goals, what she wanted outside of a job title. Danny was surprised by how much he listened without interrupting or turning the conversation back to himself. Then Adrian said, Can I ask you something personal? Danny sipped her water. Go ahead. Why did you stay with Ethan as long as you did? Adrian asked, not judging, just curious. Danny's chest tightened. She hesitated, then answered honestly. Because I thought patience could turn into love, and because my family kept making me feel like time was running out. Adrian's eyes softened. Time isn't running out, he said quietly, but your peace can run out if you keep spending it on people who don't deserve it. That hit Danny like truth. Not harsh truth, healing truth. They talked about faith too. Gently. Danny admitted she prayed for a relationship that didn't pull her away from who she was. Adrian confessed that he had been scared of love since losing Ari's mother, scared that closeness meant pain was coming. Danny studied him. You can't punish the present for what the past did, she said. Adrian nodded slowly, as if the words landed somewhere deep. When the dinner ended, Adrian walked her outside. He didn't touch her. He didn't try to rush intimacy. He just stood with her beside her car, hands in his pockets, looking at her like he was grateful she gave him a chance. Thank you for trusting me enough to come, he said. Danny met his gaze. I'm not trusting you completely, she admitted. I'm observing. Consistency is what earns trust. Adrian smiled, small, sincere. Fair. As Danny drove home, she realized something that made her laugh softly in the car. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel confused after a date. She felt clear, and in her world, clarity was rare and valuable. The following week, Danny's life started to feel almost steady. Future Forward was progressing, the hospital numbers were improving, and the rumors had slowed down enough to become background noise instead of a daily attack. Even her heart felt calmer. Adrian wasn't rushing her, wasn't pressuring her, and wasn't acting like one good date meant he owned access to her emotions. He stayed consistent, simple check-ins, respectful conversations, and real effort with Ari. Danny didn't call it love yet, but she couldn't deny she was hopeful. That was why the next shock hit so hard. It started small. A man named Amari Fields had been around Future Forward for weeks, part of a partner network the hospital sometimes collaborated with. He wasn't on Danny's team, directly, but he was close enough to be familiar. He was always dressed well, always speaking smoothly, always offering help in a way that sounded supportive. At first, Danny kept it professional. After Ethan and Miles, she had no interest in charm, but Amari was persistent in a soft way. Compliments about her leadership, comments about how rare it was to find a woman with her discipline. He made it seem like respect, not flirting. Then one day, after a brief meeting, he caught up with her near the elevators. "You're always moving," Amari said with a smile. "You ever slow down long enough to let someone take you to lunch?" Danny gave a polite laugh. "I'm good, I'm focused." Amari held up his hands. "Fair, just offering. You deserve someone who recognizes what you bring." Danny didn't respond, but the words stayed with her longer than they should have. Not because she wanted Amari, because she was tired of being unrecognized. And sometimes, a compliment can be dangerous when you've been starving for effort. 2 days later, Danny walked out to the parking lot after work and found a woman standing near her car. The woman wasn't angry-looking at first. She looked controlled, like someone holding a storm inside with dignity. Danny slowed. "Can I help you?" The woman stepped forward. "Are you Danielle Harper?" Danny's stomach tightened. "Yes." The woman's eyes stayed locked on Danny's face. "My name is Simone Fields." Danny froze. "Fields?" Simone nodded once. "Amari Fields is my husband." The air left Danny's lungs. "What?" Danny whispered. Simone's jaw clenched. "Don't play dumb with me. I know he's been around you. I've seen messages. I've seen what he does. And before you start blaming yourself, I'm not here because I think you're the problem." Danny's fingers went cold around her car keys. I didn't know he was married." Simone studied her for a long second, then exhaled like she believed her. "That's what he counts on," she said quietly. "He counts on women being kind, being busy, being trusting. He counts on confusion." Danny's vision blurred. The humiliation rose fast, like her birthday dinner all over again, but worse, because this one wasn't just neglect. This one was deception. Simone turned slightly, and Danny saw another older woman standing a few steps behind her. The older woman's face was hard, tired, and disappointed in a way that looked practiced. Simone gestured toward her. "And this is his mother." The older woman stepped forward and looked Danny up and down. "I told him this foolishness would catch up," she said bitterly. Then she looked at Danny, voice sharp. "You young women keep letting men play in your faces." Danny flinched. "Ma'am, I didn't—" Simone lifted a hand gently, cutting her off. "Don't," she said to the older woman. "We're not here to attack her." The older woman scoffed, but didn't speak again. Simone's eyes softened slightly. "I'm sorry to do this in a parking lot," she said, "but I needed you to hear the truth from me, not from rumors. He has a pattern. He makes women feel special, then disappears back into his real life like nothing happened." Danny's throat burned. He didn't do anything with me," she managed to say, ashamed that she even felt the need to defend her innocence. Simone nodded. "I believe you. That's why I came like this. Calm. But I'm also telling you, stop giving him space around you. Stop letting him orbit you." Danny's eyes filled. She hated herself for feeling like she'd failed again, like she'd been tricked again, like disrespect kept finding her no matter how careful she tried to be. "I feel stupid," Danny whispered. Simone's voice softened. "You're not stupid. He's skilled at hiding who he is." The older woman muttered, "Skilled at lying, you mean?" and turned away. Simone stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I'm not here to fight you," she said. "I'm here to free you from confusion. Don't let him pull you into his mess. Walk away clean." Danny nodded, tears finally slipping down her cheeks. She wiped them quickly, embarrassed, but Simone didn't look at her with judgment. She looked at her with understanding. After they left, Danny sat in her car for several minutes without starting the engine. Her chest felt tight. Her hands trembled. She wanted to scream, but all that came out was a silent sob. When she finally drove home, the city lights blurred through her tears. She didn't even turn on music. She just let the quiet speak. The moment she walked into her apartment, she dropped her purse by the door and sank onto the couch. Her phone lit up with a message from Adrian. "Checking on you. How was your day?" Danny stared at the screen, throat tightening. She wanted to tell him everything, but fear rose first. Fear of being judged, fear of being pitied, fear of hearing the same words she'd heard from too many people. How didn't you know? She set the phone down without replying, and for the first time since that peaceful date, Danny felt the old ache return, the ache of wondering if love was even safe, or if it always came dressed as a lesson. The next morning, Danny woke up with swollen eyes and a heavy chest. She hadn't slept much. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Simone's calm face, heard the words, "my husband," and felt that same old shame trying to crawl onto her shoulders, like it belonged there. Danny kept telling herself she didn't do anything wrong, yet her heart still felt punished. Her phone buzzed again, another message from Adrian. "Good morning, I'm worried. Can you talk?" Danny stared at the screen, but her fingers wouldn't move. She wasn't ready to be questioned, even by someone kind. She wasn't ready to explain anything to a man, period. A knock came at the door. Danny froze. She wasn't expecting anyone. She checked through the peephole and her stomach dropped. Her mother, Loretta Harper, stood outside holding a small plastic container like she had brought food, the way mothers do when they don't know how to bring the right words. Danny opened the door, slowly. "Ma?" Loretta stepped inside and looked around at the quiet apartment, then looked back at Danny's face. The moment she saw Danny's eyes, her expression changed. "What happened?" Loretta asked, voice softer than usual. Danny's throat tightened. She tried to speak, but the pain rose too fast. Her mouth opened, and instead of words, tears fell. Loretta didn't scold. She didn't lecture. She walked forward and hugged her daughter, tight, protective, like she remembered what it felt like to be young and wounded. "Oh, baby," Loretta whispered. "Come here." Danny cried into her mother's shoulder, embarrassed by how hard the tears came. Loretta didn't pull away. She held on like she was trying to hold Danny's heart together. After a few minutes, Danny pulled back and wiped her face. "I'm sorry," she murmured automatically. Loretta shook her head. "No, don't say that. Tell me what happened." Danny exhaled and told her about Amari, about the confrontation, about the humiliation she felt even though she hadn't done anything. She admitted the part that hurt most, how tired she was of feeling like disrespect kept circling her life. Loretta listened quietly. When Danny finished, Loretta's eyes were glossy too. "Danielle," she said slowly, "I owe you an apology." Danny blinked. "For what?" Loretta swallowed. "For the pressure, for how I talk about marriage like it's a finish line, for making you feel like your value is tied to somebody choosing you." Danny's breath caught. Loretta continued, voice trembling. "I thought I was motivating you, but I see now, I've been adding weight to a heart that already carries enough." Danny's lips quivered. "Ma," Loretta touched Danny's cheek gently. "You are valuable because you are you, because God made you, not because a man puts a ring on your finger. Do you hear me?" Danny nodded through tears. Loretta exhaled. "I was scared for you," she admitted. "I didn't want you alone. I didn't want you hurt, but I didn't realize the way I was trying to protect you was making you feel like you weren't enough." Danny's voice came out small. "I've been feeling like I'm always not enough." Loretta pulled her into another hug. "You are enough," she said firmly, "and I'm sorry I didn't say it louder." A few hours later, after Loretta left, Danny sat on the couch with a calmer spirit, but a tired body. She looked at her phone again. Adrian had called twice, texted twice. No pressure, just concern. Danny finally typed back, "I had a rough day. Can we talk later?" The reply came almost immediately. "I'm coming by, if that's okay. I just want to make sure you're all right." Danny hesitated. Then she typed, "Okay." When Adrian arrived, he didn't come inside acting like he belonged there. He stood at the door respectfully until Danny stepped back and invited him in. He looked at her face and his expression tightened. "You've been crying," he said quietly. Danny crossed her arms. Don't start with questions. Adrian nodded. I won't. He paused. Tell me what you need. That caught Danny off guard. Most men asked questions first. Adrian asked what she needed. Danny swallowed hard. I found out a man I worked around is married. His wife confronted me yesterday. I didn't do anything, but I feel humiliated. Adrian's jaw tightened, not at her, but at the situation. I'm sorry, he said, and I'm glad you didn't get pulled into his mess. Danny's eyes narrowed, testing him. You're not going to ask me how I didn't know? Adrian shook his head. No, I'm going to tell you the truth. Some men are professional liars, and women get blamed for their choices. That's not fair. Danny's throat burned again. I'm tired of lessons, she admitted. I'm tired of being strong. Adrian stepped a little closer, still respectful distance, his voice lowered. Can I be honest with you too? Danny nodded once. Adrian looked down for a moment, then back at her. I care about you, he said simply, and it scares me. Danny blinked. He continued, choosing words carefully. Because every time I've loved deeply, I've lost, and somewhere along the way, I trained myself to believe control is safer than closeness. Danny's voice came out soft. That's why you're so intense. Adrian nodded. Yes. He took a breath. But you make me want to do it differently. You make me want to be a better man than my fear. Danny stared at him, emotions tangled, hope, caution, and something warm she didn't want to name too soon. Adrian's eyes held hers. I'm not asking you to trust me overnight, he said. I'm asking you to let me show you consistency. Danny's shoulders slowly relaxed, because for the first time in a long time, she felt like she wasn't being pressured into love. She was being invited into something honest. 2 days after Adrian's visit, Danny walked into work with a quieter heart. The confrontation with Simone still stung, but her mother's apology had softened something in her, and Adrian's honesty, his calm, steady presence, had given her a different kind of comfort. Not the comfort of flashy words, but the comfort of a man who didn't run when things got messy. Still, Danny didn't let herself float in feelings. She had learned the hard way that emotions without wisdom could make you careless. Future Forward was approaching a major milestone review, and the hospital leadership wanted results presented in a way that could impress both the board and the community partners. Danny spent the morning tightening reports, reviewing numbers, and coaching department reps on how to speak clearly without exaggerating. She stayed focused, professional, and prepared. At lunchtime, Jalen walked into Danny's office with a half smile. You've got a visitor, he said. Danny looked up. Who? Jalen stepped aside, and a woman entered, tall, confident, with a navy blazer and a name tag that read, Dr. Cynthia Blake. Danny stood quickly. Hi, can I help you? Dr. Blake smiled warmly. Danielle Harper? Yes. I'm Cynthia Blake, she said, Chief Operations Officer at Blue Horizon Health Network. Danny's heart thumped once. Blue Horizon was one of the most respected healthcare networks in the region, known for strong leadership and a culture that protected its employees. Danny hadn't applied there. She hadn't even interviewed. So why was the COO standing in her office? Dr. Blake continued, I've been hearing your name in professional circles. Your work on Future Forward has gotten attention, especially how you've strengthened accountability without breaking team morale. That's rare. Danny swallowed. Thank you. Dr. Blake glanced at the chair. Do you have a moment to talk privately? Danny nodded, closing the door. She tried not to look nervous, but her palms warmed instantly. Dr. Blake sat and got straight to it. I'm building a new quality improvement division at Blue Horizon. I need a director with strong operational discipline and emotional intelligence. Someone who can lead outcomes and people. I want you. Danny's breath caught. Me? Yes, Dr. Blake said firmly. I'm prepared to offer you a leadership title, a salary increase, and a team of your own. I'm not here to convince you you're capable. I'm here because you already proved you are. Danny felt like the room tilted slightly. She had prayed for growth, but she hadn't expected it to walk into her office unannounced. Dr. Blake slid a folder across the desk. Take a look. No pressure today. I'll give you time. Danny opened the folder slowly. The offer was strong, financially and professionally, but more than that, it felt like peace, a clean environment, a fresh start, no rumors, no sabotage, no daily emotional warfare. When Dr. Blake left, Danny sat for a long time staring at the folder like it was a door she had been asking God to open. Then fear crept in. Not fear of the job, fear of what it would mean for Adrian. Danny didn't want to be the kind of woman who built her life around a man, but she also didn't want to run from something real just because it scared her. By the end of the day, Adrian asked Danny to step into his office for a quick future-forward update. Danny walked in, professional expression on, but her heart beating harder than usual. Adrian noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" he asked. Danny hesitated. Then she placed the folder on his desk. Adrian's eyes flicked to it. "What is this?" Danny inhaled. "An offer from Blue Horizon." Adrian's face didn't change much, but something tightened in his jaw. He opened the folder, read quietly, and looked up. "This is a serious offer," he said. "Yes," Danny replied. "It's everything I've worked for." Adrian stared at her, eyes searching her face. "Are you leaving?" Danny swallowed hard. "I don't know yet." Adrian leaned back, quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was controlled but honest. "Is it because of the rumors?" Danny's eyes narrowed slightly. "Not just that. It's because I've been fighting too hard just to exist here without being questioned, and I'm tired." Adrian nodded slowly, as if he respected the truth, even when it hurt. "I understand." Danny studied him carefully. "But I also need to know something," she added. "If I take it, and we keep seeing each other, will you still show up the same way?" Adrian's gaze softened. "You mean without work connecting us?" "Yes," Danny said. "I need to know your interest isn't tied to proximity or control. I need to know you want me as an equal." Adrian stood up, walked around the desk, and stopped at a respectful distance. "Danny," he said quietly, "I don't want to lose you." Danny's heart squeezed. "But I won't stand in the way of your growth," Adrian continued. "If you take this, I'll be proud of you, and if you give me a chance, I'll prove to you that what I feel isn't about convenience." Danny's eyes watered slightly. "Promises are easy." Adrian nodded once. "Then watch my actions." That night, Danny went home with the offer in her bag and a decision forming in her spirit. For the first time, she wasn't choosing between love and success. She was choosing whether love could survive without power attached to it, and that answer would change everything. A month after Blue Horizon made the offer, Danny walked into her new office with a deep breath and a quiet sense of victory. The walls were still plain, the desk still too clean, and the new title jitters still sitting in her stomach. But the peace was real. No whispering when she walked by, no shadow of sabotage, no constant feeling that she had to be twice as perfect to be half as respected. Danny had taken the job, and she hadn't taken it to hurt anyone. She had taken it to honor herself. The first week was intense. New systems, new staff, new expectations. But Danny was built for pressure when it was fair. She worked hard, leaned on prayer, and called Kiara every other night just to laugh and stay grounded. And Adrian? Adrian didn't disappear. He didn't punish her decision with distance. He didn't become cold because he couldn't manage her anymore. If anything, he became more intentional. He checked in consistently, respected her schedule, and never made her feel like her success threatened him. One evening, after Danny finished a long day, her phone buzzed. "I'm outside. No pressure. I brought tea and something for you to eat." Danny stared at the message, then smiled softly. That was Adrian. quiet effort instead of dramatic speeches. When she opened the door, Adrian stood there holding a small bag and a calm expression. "You look tired," he said. Danny stepped aside. "I am." He entered carefully like he still respected her space. "You're doing good," he said simply, placing the bag on her counter. "I can tell." Danny poured the tea while he unpacked food, and for a moment it felt normal, like a future that wasn't fighting her at every turn. After dinner, Adrian sat back and said, "Ari asked about you today." Danny looked up. "What did she say?" Adrian's expression softened in that way it always did when his daughter was involved. "She asked if you're coming to her art showcase next week." Danny blinked. "She invited me?" Adrian nodded. "She did, and she said—" His voice shifted slightly, gentler. "She said you make things feel less heavy." Danny's chest tightened. "That's sweet." Adrian exhaled, eyes distant for a second. "I've been trying," he admitted. "With her, with everything. Some days I feel like I'm behind." Danny sat beside him. "Behind compared to who?" she asked softly. Adrian didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "I keep thinking about what I missed, and I hate that it took so long for me to understand what she needed." Danny leaned in slightly. "Regret can teach you," she said, "but don't let it chain you. Show up now. That's what matters." Adrian looked at her. "I'm showing up now, because you helped me stop hiding." Silence settled between them, not awkward, just full. Danny's phone buzzed again, a message from her mother. "I'm proud of you, and I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner." Danny stared at it, emotion rising quickly. She didn't show Adrian the message, but she felt it as confirmation, like life was finally aligning with healing. The following week, Danny attended Ari's school art showcase. She arrived early, dressed simply, not wanting to draw attention. Adrian stood near the entrance in a button-down, looking slightly nervous like a man entering unfamiliar territory. "You came," he said quietly, relief in his eyes. Danny smiled. "I said I would." Ari spotted them and ran over, stopping short as if she suddenly remembered she was too old to sprint in public. "Hi," she said, trying to sound casual. Danny grinned. "Hi, superstar." Ari's mouth twitched. "My painting is in the front. Don't act too shocked when it's good." Adrian blinked, surprised by her humor. Danny watched his face soften, and she realized this moment, was part of Adrian's healing too. They walked the room together, looking at student artwork. Ari explained her piece with pride. Adrian listened, really listened, and when Ari finished, he said, "I'm proud of you." Ari paused, eyes wide like she didn't trust the words at first. Then she nodded. "Okay," she murmured, almost like she was accepting a gift. Later that night, Adrian drove Danny home. The city lights reflected off the windshield, and the car felt warm with quiet peace. Adrian pulled over near a small community garden park. Simple, private, meaningful. "Can we talk for a minute?" he asked. Danny's heart skipped. "Sure." Adrian reached into his pocket, then stopped, breathing like he needed courage. "I'm not good at big speeches," he said, "so I'm not going to try." He turned toward her. "You changed my life," he said. "Not because you saved me, but because you made me face myself. You made me want to be a man who leads with love, not control." Danny's eyes filled. "Adrian," he held up a small ring box but didn't open it yet. "I want a future with you," he said steadily. "Not as your boss, not as your rescuer, as your partner, your equal, and if you say yes, I'm also promising to keep showing up for Ari, fully. Every day." Danny's breath trembled. She looked at him, then thought of the birthday dinner she survived alone. The shame she carried, the pressure from her mother, the way she learned to stand tall. And now, this man, offering love with accountability. Danny whispered, "Yes." Adrian opened the box, slid the ring on her finger with careful hands, and pressed his forehead to hers briefly, respectful, quiet, grateful.